Jeff Foster. His website is called lifewithoutacenter.com. Here's what he said. If you want to feel good all the time, please forget about waking up. If you want to wake up, forget about feeling good. If you long for the raw truth of existence, please prepare for the shattering of your status quos. Prepare for heartbreak, the devastation of dreams. Everything you know about yourself will be smashed into a million pieces. Prepare to allow an unimaginable sorrow, the sorrow of distant universes, to move through you, to penetrate your very core. And prepare for joy so unbearable, you'll wonder why your heart hasn't exploded. Prepare for love to drain your tear ducts. Prepare to fall on your knees time and time again in awe, in horror, in gratitude, in the deepest calm. Prepare to never be prepared. If you want to feel good all the time, if you want pleasure without pain, joy without sorrow, light without night, a feel-good spirituality, please, I beg you, turn back. Turn back right now. Pretty interesting. So here's what Jeff was trying to get across, and this is a very important understanding. And if what I just read had an impact to you, whoa, what's that? What's he talking about, right? He's trying to point something out that is so critical to this process and this work. And what he's trying to point out is that this work is not about bypassing your experience. This work is not about using meditation or spirituality to avoid your emotions or to avoid the situations that you have in your life to deal with. That's not what this is. And what he was trying to say is if you think that's what this is and you think that's how you're going to use this and you're going to be able to escape the pain of a human existence, the inevitable realities of a human existence, if you think that's the case, you've made a big mistake and you've wasted your time, because that's not what this is at all. And it's easy to fall into that because, if you listen to a lot of the teaching and whatnot, it's easy for the listening to hear that this is a way out. I might have even said this is a way out. And in a certain way, it is a way out, right? But not like that. That's not the way out. No. The way out is the way in. The way out is in meditation. In spirituality, the way out is in. We're going toward life, not away from life. We're going toward the experiences, not away from the experiences. So then you might say, well, so how does that work? Why would I want to go toward discomfort? Why would I want to go toward physical pain? Why would I want to go toward emotional pain? Why would I want to go toward the circumstances that come up in my life when the circumstances are difficult? Well, you want to go toward it because the practice of what we're doing here is not to change what's happening, not to change what's happening, not to bypass what's happening, no. What we're practicing here is to be able to be present to what's happening and to experience your ability as the awareness to do that. That doesn't mean that what you're present to is going to automatically or just turn off or turn into something pleasurable. No, it's going to be the way it is, right? But the practice of what we're doing in terms of being present to everything, being present to whatever occurs, whatever arises in life, right, is for you to discover that this is your nature. Your nature is this still aware consciousness that does not suffer. It can be present to the suffering of the personality. It can be present to the pain in the body. It can be present to the fear or the anger, right? But it's never angry. It's never afraid. It's never suffering. So, and you can't, and it's very difficult for you to have the clarity that is available when you finally get to the place where you see it for what it really is, because along the way, as the personality keeps kind of coming back, right? The personality keeps coming back, right? When it comes back, the way it is, and it can't help it, is it's trying to get away. It's trying to avoid the pain. It's trying to get pleasure and avoid pain. That's the way the program works, right? So the practice of meditation is a practice in which you're practicing being that awareness. You're not practicing escaping from anything. You're practicing being that awareness and being able to be present to life, be present to the whole thing, be present to the pain and the suffering and the agony and so forth. See, one of the things about these teachings that are so important to understand that coincide with the practice is in these teachings, what there is to understand is that this whole business of pleasure and pain, this whole business of suffering and relief, this whole business of tension and softness, all these extremes, this whole business, that stuff is all there because that's what works. That's how life works. I don't think you would argue with me if I said to you you couldn't have day without night. I don't think you'd argue with me if I said to you you couldn't have pain without pleasure, right? It's pretty obvious, right? It's a no-brainer, right? You wouldn't know pleasure if there wasn't pain, right? Well, then why don't you accept that? Why don't you accept that the system, the way this works, right? It's your resistance to the way it is that's the source of the suffering. And when you practice being with the way it is, when you practice being with your emotions, being with your thoughts, being with your body, when you practice that and you start to get the hang of it and you start to be able to be there with it and practice being there with it, in formal meditation and informal meditation, right? Then what happens is your ability, the experience you have of these things starts to lessen in terms of how difficult it is to be present with those things. They don't bother you as much because the experience you're having when you're being the awareness is transformational and is transcendental. Not like trying to get away from anything, no. By being with it as the awareness which is not experiencing the impact of whatever's happening. The personality is, the body is, the mind is, the brain is, but the awareness isn't. And if you succeed in practicing meditation over time, you will begin to notice a gradual difference in the way you're affected by everything. You just notice you don't get upset much anymore. Your ability to be with things is now evolving in such a way where the experience of being the awareness becomes available. But remember, the awareness doesn't suffer, right? So the experience of being that awareness starts to become available as you spend more time experiencing yourself that way. And it's not an escape, no. It's being there with life the way life is. So it's kind of paradoxical, right? On the one hand, you're not trying to get away. You're actually practicing going toward the things that come up for you, whether they be emotional pain, physical pain, whatever. But if you practice being present, if you practice staying aware of everything that's going on in your life and in your body and in your mind and in your emotions, right? The practice of that over time starts to bring about a shift in terms of the experience you're having, and the shift that occurs in terms of experience you're having is that you're not bothered as much by it. It's like when they asked Krishnamurti, how would you explain what it's like to be awake, enlightened? And he said, well, the way I would kind of like describe it, he says, I kind of don't mind anymore. That's what he was pointing to. He was pointing to, if you're being the awareness, you don't mind life. You don't mind life. You don't mind the body having, what the body is and all that. You just don't mind anymore. You've kind of surrendered to the way it is, and if you've surrendered to the way it is, that means you're not resisting it anymore. You're not trying to change it anymore. You're letting life be the way life is. Because you begin to appreciate the wisdom that you're experiencing through these teachings, as you begin to understand that you have to have both sides of the thing. You have to have up to have down. You have to have pain to have pleasure. It works. So stop trying to fight that. Let yourself get that it works. What doesn't work is resisting it. What doesn't work is thinking it should be different than the way it is. No, it's perfect. You should be different than the way you are. Not it should be different than the way it is. And who you are doesn't have to be different. Who you are is already naturally able to enjoy life and to be in your life all the time. And to deal with life. That doesn't mean that you have to be having a good time all the time. It doesn't mean you have to be experiencing pleasure all the time. But even with all of the experiences, the up and the down, right? You can experience a sense of gratification. You can experience gratitude and appreciation. You can experience a sense of well-being. You can experience a sense of authenticity. You feel real. You feel real. You feel you're in life, like real. And that's exciting, actually. You know, there's the pain and the pleasure, but the overall reality of it is it's an exciting experience to be alive. So don't wait to acknowledge that until you're on your deathbed. You know, that'll be a little too late to have much fun.
It just, to me, you know, my personality interpreted that as like a more negative view versus what we've always heard here, that, oh, if you become awake, aware, you know, life will be easier, kind of thing.
It will.
Yeah.
It will, but you can't get there by way of thinking that this is about avoiding something. No, you get there by understanding that this is about saying yes to everything all the time. This is about being present to everything all the time and practicing doing that, so when it comes up for you not to be present, which it will, right? Which it will, when you don't like what's going on, right? It'll come up for you not to be present, right? So that's when you practice. That's when you practice. That's why when people say to me, oh, I had a difficult day today, I got stuck in traffic, you know, and I say, oh, you had a wonderful opportunity to practice. That's what your life becomes if you understand what this is. Yeah, of course, what I read by Jeff Foster of course, I understand that's going to sound negative to the personality, because the personality lives in a negative, you know, pleasure, avoid pain and seek pleasure. So the personality is going to say, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. What are you doing to me?
But I thought we'd experience the negativity or things that happen that, you know, aren't things that normally make us happy. We would experience them in a lighter, you know.
Well, you experience
misery light.
Yeah, you experience them as part of a practice instead of just suffering. And the practice that you're putting into play here can allow that experience to be transformative. It can start being different to you when you're being like that. It's different to be like that, to be that tolerant, you know, to be that receptive, to be that open, to let life be the way it is, you know. But I understand what you're saying, but don't hear it as a personality. That's what I'm requesting. Don't hear it as a personality. Hear it as who you are. Let that get through to the truth of yourself. If it gets through to the truth of yourself, there will be an aha. It'll be, oh yes, that's true. That is what this is.